Aaron Blake is a senior political reporter for The Washington Post. He joins us now. Aaron, you saw him go through what he thought were grades for himself. He doesn't have a high approval rating. The latest poll by NBC shows 44%. What does he need to achieve in the speech tonight?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that now that we're 5 weeks into the administration, we've kind of seen that a lot of the divisions from the campaign are going to continue. The Democrats are going to be very much opposed to him. The question is really how much he can do to unite Republicans, how much he can do to calm some of their fears and answer some of their questions about specifically what he plans to pursue from a policy standpoint. I think if you look in particular at three different issues, tax reform, healthcare reform, and his budget, those are three issues where he's offered kind of broad strokes, very general comments about what he plans to do. But Republicans have a whole lot of questions about how the math is going to work on those things, what specifically is going to be done. And I think they're really looking for direction right now.
And on that point, Aaron, the outline President Trump gave for his budget showed an increase in defense spending that is paid for with cuts to foreign aid and other programs. However, Speaker Ryan, in speaking to reporters yesterday, said, quote, "I never give up on a dream," in referring to his wish to reform entitlement programs like Medicare. That won't be touched in this outline of President Trump's budget. So what does that tell us about how much progress there is to be made on unifying Republicans to get anything major through Congress?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. The fact is that everything in that budget outline, and it was a very kind of cursory budget outline that didn't deal in a whole lot of specifics, there's something for almost everybody to hate, from the more moderate side of the party to the more conservative side. There are members already speaking out about certain aspects of this, specifically the tax credits, the fact that it doesn't include entitlement reforms. There are questions from budget hawks about specifically how this is going to be accomplished if you don't touch entitlements, given the very big increase in defense spending. So we know almost nothing about this plan besides the big item number and some kind of broad goals that Trump wants to accomplish with it. We're going to have to know a whole lot more, and they're going to have to start putting pen to paper as far as putting together some of the specifics on this. And I think that the fact that there's already some consternation about this suggests that's going to be a very difficult process.
Yeah, even the president admitting nobody's saying nobody knew health care could be so complicated. You've got to have 50 votes in the Senate for anything to pass. And he's also discovering that it's very difficult to get that through. There are already, as you mentioned, senators not interested in the current House plan that has gone through. We've heard from Rand Paul. We've heard from Ted Cruz. So who does he have to win over within his own party when it comes to Obamacare? And what are the key issues here?
Well, I think he's got to satisfy the repeal crowd. There is a crowd that wants this repeal done very quickly, as they've been promising their base for a very long time. But I think you've also got a group of more pragmatic, almost centrist Republican senators who are legitimately concerned about what happens if they repeal this without a well-studied and thought-through replacement. Reforming health care is something that took the Obama administration a very long time, and the Republican Party is trying to do it in a matter of a couple of months, it seems. I think that there is a real fear that for however much they don't like Obamacare and what it's done, they may be installing something that could turn out to be worse if it's not well thought through. And so I think that if they even want to get to the point where they're going to have the votes to repeal Obamacare, and given there are only 52 Republicans in the Senate, that's not a given. They're going to have to reassure those middle-of-the-road senators that this is something that is going to have a good replacement in place.
All of these things will be difficult to push through Congress on a good day. The headwinds the president faces include all these questions about his campaign's ties to Russia during the election. Let's just listen to what Speaker Ryan had to say today about some of the ongoing investigations.
Is there anything you could hear that would make you decide we need a special prosecutor to look into that?
Well, that's the executive branch.
I understand.
We think we need to do an investigation here with our intelligence committees. There's one thing that's unique about this, which is this gets into the methods of collection of intelligence data, sources and methods. That's very, very sensitive. It's the most sensitive tool in our national security toolbox. That is why we have an intelligence committee of men and women in Congress who have gone through the process of understanding those tools. The point is, we need to get answers. We need to make sure that nothing happened that shouldn't have happened as we go forward. That's exactly what we do in our jobs as Congress, but we think the Intelligence Committee is the right place to do it.
So you're hearing Republicans, including Representative Darrell Issa, who had suggested a special prosecutor, then walked that back. Everyone now walking back the need for a special prosecutor to get involved in all of this. What does that tell us?
Well, I think it's a good indication that kind of stepping outside the usual process is going to be a difficult thing to do. Any time a Republican takes this a step further, expresses more concern about what happened with Russia hacking the election, it's going to be met with some pushback. And so I think that there is a lot of very significant concern about this whole situation from Republicans in Congress who have been very skeptical about Russia over the years. But any time they step forward like that and start talking about things that may not be as good for the Trump administration, it's going to be met with some pushback from the base. And so I think that they're going to have to think about those things very carefully.
Aaron, before we let you go, I want to ask you, you wrote that the White House has backed itself into a corner on the Yemen raid. There's been some question about whether there really was actionable intelligence that was discovered in this raid. What do you mean by that when you wrote this today in the Washington Post?
Yeah, another big part of it was that about 3 weeks ago at a White House briefing, Sean Spicer basically reacted to John McCain's criticism of the raid and said that anybody who questioned the success was doing a disservice to the life of the lost Navy SEAL. Well, over the weekend, we saw the Navy SEAL's father come forward and say that the White House shouldn't hide behind his son's death. Spicer kind of backed down from his rhetoric on Monday's briefing. And then there's the whole matter of the information that was taken out of this raid. There are reports that there wasn't a whole lot of very actionable intelligence here. And the White House has been saying for a very long time that there was a lot of it. It was a very successful raid from that particular standpoint. So I think we're going to see a bunch of, a few investigations from the Department of Defense. We're going to learn more about this situation. But the White House has set itself up as a very kind of hyperbolic position in this situation where this raid was kind of unquestioned, and now they're saying it's a resounding success. Well, if we learn more, as we're learning from some of these reports, that it wasn't a resounding success, that there were failures involved, I think that's going to be very difficult for them to answer for.
Yeah, and they certainly won't want to get into another fight with the family of a fallen soldier, as happened during the campaign. Certainly something they want to avoid. Aaron Blake with the Washington Post, thanks for joining us from D.C. today.
Thanks, guys.